Well, how nice to see you again, creeping about in my attic, like every week, like you keep doing, here in the Mask Fan Attic. Hello, Mask Fanatics, and welcome back to the attic. This week's mask is gone. Oh no, wait, here it is. I see it. Never mind. It's right here, and it's a really scary one. It is a dead thing. That's right. The name of it is just simply Dead Thing, which kind of seems like would be an okay name for me too, really, but no, he is a dead thing. Why is he just called Dead Thing? Because he's from a movie called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things that came out in the early 1970s and was directed by none other than Bob Clark, who also directed a lot of other interesting stuff, including Black Christmas. And most famously, his best known, biggest hit movie was the famous A Christmas Story. The one about Ralphie and the gun, the BB gun and the leg lamp and all that silly. It's the same guy directed a movie called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Okay? Now this particular mask was created by none other than Darryl Vidari. And his mask business, back when he was in the mask business, was called VXX. VXX-FX. And he gave up mask making because of back trouble. And if that sounds weird, you're not a mask maker, because when you have to lift these heavy molds to make these things all the time, I don't know how it is that there are any mask makers who haven't had to give it up due to back trouble. You know, somewhere out there's a lot of money to be made by opening a mask maker's back injury clinic. You know, somewhere there needs to be like the hospital just for mask makers who throw their backs out. Anyway, Darryl Vidari did a number of fantastically good masks. Those of us who were lucky enough to know him and be able to get some of his masks when back when he was making them, well, we were very fortunate indeed, because the quality was really, it was unsurpassed. It was as good as it gets. They were super thick castings, the rubber was high quality, the paint was always perfect and very painstakingly done, and they were just wonderful masks. You know, there's nothing not to like about them. They were just spectacularly good. And this is one of the rarest, it's one of the rarest masks of the Darryl Vidari VXX-FX history, and it's one of the rarest masks in mask history because it's one of the last ones that he did when he was still in business. And this is from early 2009. It was only available for about 6 or 7 weeks, I think. And ultimately, only 4 of these were ever made. There are 4 copies of this mask in the entire universe. So if you have one of the other 3, score for you, because there are only 4 of these in the whole world. Huh? Now, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things was a movie that had a ton of different zombies in it. There were a lot of really good zombie makeups, mostly done by the star of the movie, Alan Ormsby. The guy most famous for wearing really loud, ugly pants in Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Very talented makeup guy, especially when you consider that this movie was made for a budget that wouldn't normally pay for a good lunch at Wendy's, styrofoam tombstones and all that. And also there are a lot of zombies in it, so he didn't just focus on 1 or 2 zombies. There are probably like 30 or so really pretty elaborate zombie makeups for a low-budget film. And this one, you actually get a few good looks at him. Some of them you just see them barely, and you barely have any memory or awareness of them. But this guy, who is actually given a name, that's right, this guy's actually called Mr. Wins. That's W-I-N-N-S. I don't know his first name. You can make up a first name for him, okay, because I don't think he had one. But Mr. Wins, like many of the zombies in the movie, had a name that wasn't used in the script, of course, because they're just zombies lumbering around attacking people. But in some of the advertising and so forth, they had names, and this one was Mr. Wins. Now, Mr. Wins shows up in his coffin, so you see him kind of from this angle, and then you see him later crashing through the set, coming after people, walking, getting up out of his coffin. And he was played by an actor named Bruce Solomon, by the way, who went on to play lots of characters in series television and a few other movies, and actually had a pretty good career that kicked off, you'll pardon the expression, with Mr. Wins here, a fright masked zombie in the very spooky Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things in the early 70s. Now, when I first saw that movie, I remember it was late at night, it was in the middle of the night, it was on late night television, I fell asleep, I was kind of groggy during it. And let me tell you kids, if you fall asleep during Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, you'll have horrible nightmares. Because even I had horrible nightmares when I fell asleep watching Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Because it has one of the creepiest soundtracks I think I've ever heard in any horror movie. Just this constant groaning, moaning, howling, screeching, dripping, creaking, very, very creepy series of sounds that work on your mind, you know, and keep the film more suspenseful than it really might be otherwise, because the acting is terrible and there's no story. But that said, I also recall we showed Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things years and years ago on the late Dr. Lady show, and the next day my mom said, "Hey, I saw your show last night." "Oh yeah, did you see?" And Mom said, "That movie, the zombies in the cemetery, yeah, what'd you think, Mom?" And Mom said, "Oh, those people couldn't act." Mom said, "I can act better than the people in that movie." So for a while there, I thought maybe Mom was going to get inspired to make her own zombie movie, you know, just make her own. Wouldn't that have been great? But sadly, Mom didn't take it that far, and she never made her own zombie movie. So the world was deprived of the opportunity to get to go into a darkened theater and sit down with their popcorn and Coke and see a horrible zombie movie in a haunted cemetery that starts out by saying, "Directed by Dr. Lady's mother." We never got to see that, and I think that's regrettable. But the Mr. Wins mask here, one of an edition of only 4 in the universe by the great Darryl Vidori VXX-FX. And this looks just like the one in the movie. It's a brilliant recreation with the texture and the color and everything really dead on. So, you know, there are 3 out there, right? You got a shot, right? 3 of them. You might find one.